Once upon a time, there was a king. This was no ordinary king. In fact, he was known throughout all the kingdoms as the King of Kings, for it was by him and through him that all things existed. Everyone in the kingdom was fiercely loved by the king just as they were, for they were his royal children. But some in the kingdom didn't know the king. They went about their days feeling lost, unloved, and cast aside. This grieved the king, but this was a loving king. This was a king who wouldn't rest until everyone in his kingdom knew his love. And this is where our story begins.
From urban streets to open plains, we are under one name. No one is lost or goes unseen, 'cause we're all loved by our King. This is nothing ordinary. There is power in the name we carry. Every nation, every tongue, welcome to the kingdom. All the rich, all the poor, all the people, all yours. We are daughters, we are sons, more than mortals. We are royals, we are yours. We are yours, yeah, yours. We are yours. Hearts unbound, running free, different stories, one dream. We don't wonder where we belong. We found our home in the Father's love. This is nothing ordinary. There is power in the name we carry. Every nation, every tongue, welcome to the kingdom. All the rich, all the poor, all the people, all yours. We are daughters, we are sons, more than mortals. We are royals, we are yours. We are yours, yeah, yours. We are yours. It don't matter where we come from. Everyone is welcome in your kingdom. It don't matter if we're broke or we're broken. In your love we have found our freedom. All the rich, all the poor, all the people, all yours. We are daughters, we are sons, more than mortals. We are royals, we are yours. We are yours. We are yours. We are yours.
Miss Carrie, the boxes of magic wands that you ordered just arrived.
Awesome! Okay, be very careful with these. We don't want any of them falling.
All right, let me just set these down right here.
Oh man, I'm so sorry! Here, let me get that for you. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, bye.
Hey, wait,
I'm sorry, I can't do that. Goodbye.
It's no use.
What do you mean?
It's no use. GB's always running around, and nobody knows why. Anyways, where did you say that you wanted these?
Yeah, right over by the wishing well.
All right, let me just put these.
Oh man,
Really, GB?
I'm sorry, buddy. Gosh, it's like I'm going so fast that I can't see what's right in front of me. It's like I'm faster than light or something. All right, yeah. Okay, good. That looks good.
Hey, why do you take off again?
Good luck trying to catch him.
Pardon the interruption, kiddos, but I simply must tell you that if you're a fan of these fairy tales, then you're gonna love cow tails. That's right, kids, a delicious mixture of caramel and cream. It's amazing, it's incredible, and I'm telling you, what this thing lacks in vitamins and minerals, it makes up for with minimal vitamins. These babies are so delicious, you've simply got to share them with your friends. Cow tails for everyone! And they all lived happily ever after.
Hey! You want Gingy?
Yeah.
She wants Gingy.
He's made of gingerbread.
We can get Gingy for you. It's a secret trick.
Very secret.
Ooh, secret trick?
Yes, some magical words to lure in the gingerbread man.
Ready, boys?
Ready? Whoa! Look at all those gumdrop buttons!
Did somebody say gumdrop buttons? See? What did I tell you? Every time.
If the gingerbread man's house is made of gingerbread, would that be like our house being made of little piggies?
No. Okay, let's get out of here. To the stick yachts!
Hey, GB, you really love to run, don't you?
Yes, I do. And I'm really good at it.
I've noticed.
Well, thanks. But honestly, it's not you who I want to notice. It's the king who I want to notice.
The king to notice?
Yes, I want the king to see how fast I can run. I think that if I do something I'm really good at, the king will look at me and be happy with me. And speaking of which...
No, wait.
Why? Don't you get it? The king can't see me if I'm standing still. He won't notice me if I'm standing still.
GB, the king does notice you.
Right, which is why I keep running.
No. He notices you and he knows you.
How? I've never met him.
You don't have to. He already knows you and he loves you so much.
How do you know that?
Because he sent someone special for you.
He what? The king sent someone special for me? And I'm here? I gotta get home!
No, wait. No, he sent someone long ago.
That's even worse! I left the king's special guest waiting?
No, just wait. Ugh, you don't get it. Let me show you something. Right here. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners.
Those sound like words spoken out of a very special book. Here in Storybook Kingdom, we know all about special books.
You would be right, my friend. Those are verses right out of the Bible. John 3:16 and Romans 5:8. And they talk about the special person the king sent for you, his son, Jesus.
That's the special person.
Yeah,
The king's son.
that's right.
And the king sent him for me because he loves me?
Now you're getting it.
Even though he's never seen me run?
That's right. You know what? You don't have to run for the king to love you, GB. He already knows you. He already loves you. The fact that you can run and that you do is pretty awesome. But you don't have to run for him to love you. You are already loved by the king.
Wow. I can't tell you how much that means to me. I mean, I always felt like I had to use these legs to show the king how much I loved him and how much... But the truth is, I'm so tired. I feel like this whole time I've been chasing after him, but to know that he's been chasing after me? Wow. That makes me wanna...
What are you doing?
Something I never get to do anymore, but now I can. Daydream.
Seems like my feet are always in motion, taking me to anywhere but where you want me. I try to keep things constantly moving, hoping for a faster way than what you're doing. But your love is chasing after me. It's chasing after me. There's nowhere I could ever hide, 'cause you keep coming. Your love is chasing after me. It's chasing after me. And I don't know
Hola and como estas, amigos? It is your friend Martin Q Snodgrass's Animoji. That's right, it's not the real Marty. But then again, kiddos, after last week, me training you how to spot phonies, you were already on to me. But I'll tell you what, kiddos, I'm gonna mix it up today, and I'm gonna tell you some stories. And your job is to decide if these stories are real headlines from the newspapers and the internet, or if they're just some fairy tales made up in Uncle Marty's crazy old noggin. Either way, kiddos, this game is gonna be tough, but I believe in you, kiddos. Now that we've laid out the rules for the games, let's get right down to it. Our first headline says that a cafeteria worker was fired for licking the frosting off of cookies. I'll tell you what, kiddos, that's both yummy for her and disgusting for the kiddos. But the question is it a real headline or is it a fairy tale? Go ahead and blurt your answers out as fast as you can, because each round you're only gonna have about 5 seconds to yell what you think it is. Boy, oh boy, am I relieved for the young kiddos that had to eat those cookies, because that was just a fairy tale. Our next story is about some Nigerian police officers who supposedly arrested a goat on suspicion of armed robbery. That's a wacky story, kiddos. But the question is it a headline or is it a fairy tale? That absolutely got my goat. I thought it was a fairy tale, but it turns out it actually happened. Next up, we've got a story about a police officer who bamboozled a criminal by yelling out the irresistible word that is Marco. That's right, he said Marco and the criminal couldn't help himself. He said polo, and that is how the police officer caught that criminal. The question is it a headline or is it a fairy tale? The irresistible Marco Polo call actually happened, kiddos. That's a shocker. Next up, we've got a story about a former beauty pageant queen who robbed a carnival, and when they found her, she was hiding in the House of Mirrors. What a strange place for a beauty queen to be found, staring at herself in a bunch of mirrors. Question is that a real headline or a fairy tale? Look at that, kiddos. That story was just made up out of old Uncle Marty's head. Anyway, kiddos, our next story is about a very dangerous standoff between some brave policemen and a tiger. Only it turns out after 45 minutes or so, they realized the tiger was just a stuffed animal. That's a funny story, but is it a real one? That's the question. Well, look at that, kiddos. It looks like the tiger was fake, but the story was real. As far as I'm concerned, kiddos, it's always better safe than sorry when dealing with incredibly dangerous animals like tigers. Okie dokie, kiddos, our next story is about a far less dangerous animal, the duck. That's right, a family of ducks. Apparently, there's a man in Lexington, Kentucky, who before he passed away, left a note in his will that his lake on his property should go to his favorite family of ducks. So what do you think, kiddos? Is that a real story or is that a fairy tale? Looks like it's a fairy tale, kiddos. Those ducks were left empty-handed or empty web-footed. I don't even know. Empty-winged? Who knows? Next story, kiddos. Once upon a time, there was a famous musician who kept a bull shark in his bathtub. That's ridiculous. But the question is that a real headline or is that a fairy tale? What a relief, kiddos! No bull sharks were harmed in the making of this show. That was completely and totally made up. Let's take a look at our next story. What would you kiddos do if you went to buy some broccoli and you found some creepy crawlers crawling around in your broccoli? Well, according to this story, the man who found some caterpillars in his broccoli decided to take those caterpillars home and raise them like his own. The question is, kiddos, is that a real headline or is that a fairy tale? My goodness, that's a real story, kiddos. That's a real weird story if you ask Uncle Marty, but hey, no judgment here. Next up, we've got a story about some police officers who found a bear on a busy road, and the only way they could lure them back into the wilderness was by using Krispy Kreme donuts, which sound delicious, but does it sound real? Is it a true headline or is it a fairy tale? I can't believe that story's true, kiddos. I don't think I've ever wanted to be a bear as much as I do right now. Our next story is incredibly difficult to believe. It's about a man who was electrocuted because he took a bite out of a neon sign that was shaped like a pizza. I'll tell you what, you gotta be real hungry to go eat neon signs. The question is, kiddos, is that a real headline or is that a fairy tale? What a relief, kiddos. That story was also made up in Uncle Marty's noggin. Anyway, let's take a look at our next story. All right, kiddos, this next story is as wacky as they come. It's about a young boy who tries to wash his cat in the toilet and ends up flooding the entire house when he accidentally flushes old Fluffy down the toilet. The question is, kiddos, is that a real headline or is that a fairy tale? To all you cat lovers out there, have no fear because Fluffy is completely unharmed. That's right, he was not flushed. Anyway, kiddos, our next story is about the most despicable of villains. Apparently, some guy decided he wanted Girl Scout cookies so bad that he didn't mind paying for them with counterfeit money. So what do you think, kiddos? Is that a real story or is that a fairy tale? Once again, kiddos, that story was phony baloney. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's move on to our next story. This is about a woman who was so angry when she found out that McDonald's was out of McNuggets that she decided she needed to call 911 to report this travesty. Question is that a real headline or a fairy tale? Wow, that lady must really love her McNuggets because that actually happened. All right, kiddos, this next story is our final one, and I'm telling you, it's a doozy. According to this story, Darth Vader traveled around some of the islands of the Philippines telling kids that they'd better stay in their houses during the quarantine. I mean, that sounds wacky, but is it a real headline or is it a fairy tale? Wow, kiddos, who'd have thunk that Darth Vader would be out there using the Force to keep people indoors? Well, anyway, kiddos, that's all we've got for this game. I hope you had a hoot, because I know I did. Right now, I'm going to send it to a good buddy of mine. His name is Pastor Evan, and he's got a message to share with you.
Hey kids, it's so exciting to be here in the kingdom. My name is Pastor Evan, and wow, that gingerbread man sure is fast. I'm telling you, run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man. Totally makes sense now. And what about that incredible story? The gingerbread man was running so fast just to get the attention from the king. But just like Miss Carrie explained to him, you don't just have the attention of the king, you're known by the king. You have the king's love in his heart. And what a rest that might have been for that gingerbread man. Can you think of a time maybe in your life where you had something that you didn't even know that you had? Like maybe you're going through some old toys or things like that and you find something, you're like, wow, I forgot that I even had this. And this is incredible. I did the same thing today when I was coming in here. I looked under the seat of my car and I found this amazing candy. Sure, it's got fuzz and hair all over it and it's pretty gross, but I didn't even know I had it. It's amazing, very good. Oh my, is that hair or lip? I think it's a penny. Can I get some water? Thank you. All right, here we go. All right, I think I'm a little bit better now. I'm gonna go dry my shirt off and then I'll be right back. Well, there is a story just like this in the Bible. See, there was this little city and it was called Corinth. And in that city, there was a church. And the people of that church were kind of bickering back and forth with each other on what they knew and how they knew they were gonna get God's love. And there was this man named Paul. Paul wrote this church a couple of letters. You can find these letters in your Bible right now in 1st and 2nd Corinthians. These are the letters that Paul wrote. In 1 Corinthians, there's a story where Paul is just explaining to these people, listen, it's not about what you know, but it's about your love for God. Your love for God that God freely gives you all of these things. In 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 2 and 3, it says, people who know things don't really know what they ought to know, but whoever loves God is known by God. Paul is explaining to these people, your love for God and your passion for this, figuring all of this out, is evidence that God already has chosen you and God already loves you and you are known by Him. It reminds me of one more really quick story that I want to tell you. So there was a little girl, let's say her name was Zoe. Zoe loved to play outside, and she had an incredible imagination. Well, one day it was raining outside, so Zoe had to come inside. She was talking to her dad about how frustrated she was. Her dad, let's say his name is Evan. So what Zoe's dad did is he gave her a piece of paper and said, Zoe, with your incredible imagination, I'm sure you can have fun inside. Just as much fun inside as outside. Zoe then began to imagine that she was playing outside. But before she could do that, because it was raining, she had to create a rain hat. So Zoe put on her rain hat and she played and played and played, but then her imagination got away from her and she said, what if all this rain, there was some lightning that went with it? And what if one time the lightning struck a tree? There would be a fire. Zoe said, never fear. and created a fireman's hat. Fireman Zoe to the rescue. Well, then she put out the fire, she saved the day, and she was a hero. Then she wanted to get back to playing. Well, the ground was really wet by then, and it reminded her of being a pirate, so she made a pirate's hat. Captain Zoe, swashbuckling pirate, fiercest pirate of the 7 seas, right? Then the rain kept going and got a little worse. It started to flood, and Zoe needed to take action. So what did Zoe do? She said, no worries at all, and created a little boat. Zoe hopped in her boat and she's going across the floodwaters, and then she realizes that she has no way to steer the boat. Look out! She crashes into the school building and it takes off the front of the boat. And then the boat goes into a tailspin and crashes into a telephone pole. And then it takes off the back of the boat. The boat takes on water and sinks all the way to the bottom of the floodwaters. And it tears the sails of the boat. Now, I know that you might be a little worried about Zoe at this point, but there's really no need to be afraid, because the entire time, Zoe was wearing her life jacket. It's so important that we read our Bibles, just because the Bible reveals to us who God is, and it tells us about things that we didn't even know we had. Just like the gingerbread man and his acceptance from the king, just like the Corinthian church and their love from God, and just like Zoe and her life jacket. God gives us everything that we need. He's always for us, never against us. And we have everything we need through His love and His love only. Thank you again, guys, for letting me be here at the Kingdom. At this point, I'm gonna turn it back over to Pastor Ryan. I hope you guys have just an incredible time. God bless.
What's happening, kids? It's me, Mr. Ryan, and we are about to show our final segment. Now, this is kind of a wacky, wild segment, and it's part of our VBS Plus package. So the kids that showed up last Saturday to get their VBS Quest kits, well, they got a list of incredibly crazy, wacky things that we wanted them to do and to film while they were doing it. And what you're about to see is, I don't know, it's just the mayhem that ensued after that. So kids, enjoy watching other kids do crazy things on camera.
Rancho Kids VBS rocks!
Go Dodgers.
Trick or treat! Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. How much fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle and here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Just tip me over and pour me out.
street. The red-nosed reindeer have a really shiny nose. And the most exciting thing, I did it with my family, which is so awesome.
All right, kids, I told you that was fun. I told you it was mayhem, and it was. For those of you guys that did that, we really appreciate you guys just having a ton of fun and filming it for us to enjoy. And for those of you guys that didn't know about it, you're not a part of VBS Plus, we want to let you know it's not too late to register. Go to rancho.tv/kids and you can be a part of that craziness. And that's all we got for this week, kids. If you're a part of VBS Plus, we'll see you on Wednesday. If you're not, we can't wait to see you next Sunday right here on YouTube. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.